Kasey, all is well in the world. They're best friends now, old Gio and Greg.
Well, it's easy to be best friends when you score 2 goals in the first half and you're playing against a side that really realized that they didn't really want to be in Nashville. They wanted to be somewhere else except for playing the United States. But, you know, take all that aside. Look, the bounce back from the really poor second half against Germany to then the response for that first half to be 4-0 up against Ghana. You know, a team historically who's given, you know, the U.S. national team a lot of trouble. But this isn't the Ghana side of, 10, 15 years ago. But still, you have to play against the opposition that's in front of you, and the U.S. played very, very well. I mean, I think we saw hints of the way the U.S. can attack against Germany. Now, the big part that Greg is going to have to focus on here moving forward is being able to understand which opposition you can play very aggressively, very proactively going forward, run a lot of numbers in the attack, look really goal dangerous. And then those teams that you have to accept where, wait a minute here, we can't just play this side heads up. We need to be a little bit more conservative. We need to be able to make sure that we keep it tight defensively. And I think the two great examples that Greg can look at going forward is look at the Holland game in the World Cup and the Germany game and say, when we try to play some of the opponents of that caliber heads up, we get too exposed defensively and we can't cope with that. When we're playing against a team like Ghana, who, isn't strong at the moment, who's Chrissy Houghton's trying to figure stuff out with that side to get them more motivated, but then you can attack. You can let a Serginho Dest loose. You can let him overlap because, against Leroy Sané, Serginho Dest didn't look the same player as he did against Ghana.
Pulisic, Reyna, partnership blossoming. Stevie, all is well in the US world.
Yeah, I'm along here with Kasey. I'm kind of torn, to be honest, because you can only play against what's in front of you. And the truth is that they played some nice football, scored some good goals, and surprise, surprise, if you let Gio Reyna run around and give him plenty of time and plenty of space, then he's either going to kill you by putting it in the net or he's going to make passes. I mean, these are things we know. The same with Pulisic. It should have been 6 at half-time. Yeah. It really should have been. I mean, Balogun and Pulisic missed 2 sitters from 6 yards out. They hit the goalie because the goalie never saved it. And by the way, this goalkeeper for Ghana is one of the worst international goalies I've seen in a long time. This guy was scared stiff. Every time they passed the ball to him, he looked as if I thought it was going to blow up. I thought it was like somebody had lit a fuse on the end of it. I mean, it was that bad.
Okay, all right.
So again, I'm torn. Yes, they played great, but this Ghana side were embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing.
Right, so Kasey, from these 2 games, what are you thinking? You think, oh, that player really impressed me, or that player did not? Like, what have we taken from it? Who did you enjoy watching and who disappointed you?
Well, I enjoyed looking at the attacking options. I thought, but you got to also reference that based on who they're playing against, because Balogun was ineffective against Germany. And against a German backside that we know is pretty slow and not quite, where they need to be to challenge for a World Cup or a Euros. I thought Christian was great through the camp, but then there was issues in his defensive work against Germany, against the likes of a Germany, let's say. Yeah, against this, and the same. We're looking at Dest as well against the opposition of Ghana. Looked like a world-class player. Against Germany, he looked like there was still some work he needs to on the defensive side of things to be, a true out-and-out defender against a country that, is one of the biggest, footballing countries in the world. So Gio as well, coming out of a situation where he's only played, 26, 28 minutes of first-team football, because of the injury in the summer. Obviously, he has to stay fit, and he has to continue to kick on. So, yeah, look, there's so many good things, but there's still obviously that level that Greg has to figure out. how do we play against these teams with these players? And then, okay, now their next big game is against Trinidad. How do you play against Trinidad? There has to be that idea that results are the most important thing in a game. And how do we then set up our team, both player personnel, because the squad's good young squad, playing regularly in their sides, mostly now in Europe. And Greg has a lot of decisions to make on which players to play. But then there's that little bit that's so important for a manager in the international level. This is the opposition I'm playing against. This is how I have to set it up to get a result. And I think that will be the big key for Greg going forward, to make sure that his squad understands exactly that. Yes, against Trinidad, you can play this way and you can beat them. Against an average Ghana, you can beat them this way. But against a Germany, against a Dutch side, we have to play a little bit differently if we think we can get a result.